How are vampire bats, the only mammal that's evolved to specialize on a diet of blood, being used as models for the evolution of friendship in humans? Let's talk about blood sharing. While blood as a meal may work fine for mosquitoes, ticks, and leeches, it barely meets the energetic demands of a mammal like the vampire bat. Thus, if a vampire bat is unsuccessful in getting a blood meal for 2 nights in a row, it will literally starve to death before the 3rd night. And this has favored the evolution of blood sharing in vampire bats, where individuals that have successfully found a blood meal may regurgitate and share blood with individuals that are slowly starving to death because they were unsuccessful at finding a blood meal. But for vampire bats that have successfully found a blood meal and returned to the roost with a belly full of blood, the decision on whether or not to share some of that blood is a critical one, because by sharing blood, you're quite literally moving yourself closer to starvation. And research shows us that in vampire bats, 2 things are critical in determining whether a successful hunter with a belly full of blood will share some of that blood meal with unsuccessful hunters. And that is 1, kin. Vampire bats are more likely to share with kin, related individuals, than they are non-kin. And secondly, and what this paper shows us is even more important than relatedness, is whether or not we have shared blood in the past. Specifically, have you shared blood with me when I was unsuccessful and starving? And what more recent research shows is that long before a vampire bat will consider sharing this high-value blood meal with another vampire bat, they literally have to have scratched each other's backs. So vampire bats spend about 21 hours of their day in their roosts, and most of that time is spent conserving energy by sleeping, and much of the rest of the time they're engaged in grooming activities, grooming themselves and grooming others. And what this paper found was that successful hunters will not share blood meals with unsuccessful hunters that they don't already have a reciprocal grooming relationship with. In other words, in vampire bats, if you haven't shown me that I can trust you by reciprocating this grooming behavior, literally, I scratch your back and you scratch mine, there's no way I'm going to trust you with such a costly gift as a blood meal, knowing there's a decent chance you won't reciprocate that when I'm the one that's starving. And these blood-sharing behaviors in vampire bats mirror the establishment of human friendships, where we tend to start our friendships with fairly low-cost reciprocal behaviors. I texted you. Did you text back? Before we ever engage in potentially more costly sharing.